When the doctor said the diagnosis out loud, I barely heard the rest of the conversation. My mind immediately went to my wife, my children, and a future I suddenly wasn't sure I would get to see.
Welcome back to God Showed Up Stories. Tonight's story is for anyone carrying the weight of uncertainty. The people waiting for test results. The people facing medical challenges. The people lying awake at night worrying about tomorrow. The people trying to stay strong for their families while secretly feeling afraid themselves. Maybe you're facing a health battle. Maybe someone you love is. Maybe life has placed you in a season where there are more questions than answers. If that's you, this story is for you. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who may need encouragement tonight. And comment below. Have you ever had to trust God when you didn't know what was coming next? Never forget this. Faith is not knowing what tomorrow holds. Faith is trusting God with tomorrow anyway. All right, let's get into tonight's story.
Before the diagnosis, my life felt predictable, not perfect, just normal. I had a steady job, a loving wife, 2 incredible children, weekend soccer games, family dinners, vacation plans, the ordinary things most people take for granted. I was the dependable one, the person everyone else leaned on. If something needed fixing, I handled it. If there was a problem, I found a solution. I liked being that person. Then, everything changed. It started with symptoms I couldn't explain. Fatigue, pain, little things that didn't seem serious at first. I kept telling myself it was stress, too much work, not enough sleep. But eventually, my wife convinced me to see a doctor. One appointment led to another. Tests led to more tests. And then, one afternoon, I found myself sitting in a medical office, listening to words that completely altered the future I thought I had planned. The diagnosis wasn't what I expected. I remember staring at the doctor while he explained the treatment options and next steps. But honestly, I wasn't hearing most of it. My mind had already gone somewhere else. My wife, my children, our future, the milestones I suddenly feared I might miss. The fears came quickly. What if I can't provide for my family? What if I become a burden? What if things get worse? What if? What if? What if? The questions never seemed to stop. Friends and family tried their best to encourage me. People prayed. People offered support. People reminded me to stay positive, and I appreciated every bit of it. But there were fears I carried alone. The kind of fears you don't always know how to explain. The kind that show up at 2 o'clock in the morning when everyone else is asleep. The kind that sit quietly in the back of your mind during family dinners. The kind that make you smile on the outside while worrying on the inside. Even my faith began struggling. Not because I stopped believing in God, but because I couldn't understand why this was happening. I had always assumed that if I worked hard, did the right things, and trusted God, life would make sense. Now, life didn't make sense at all. One afternoon, after a particularly difficult medical appointment, I found myself wandering through the hospital feeling overwhelmed. I wasn't ready to go home yet. I wasn't ready to answer questions. I wasn't ready to pretend I was okay. Without really thinking about it, I walked into a small hospital chapel. The room was quiet. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows. A few empty chairs sat scattered throughout the space. I took a seat near the back. For a while, I just sat there. No words, no prayers, just silence. Eventually, I noticed another man sitting several rows away. He looked older than me, calm, peaceful, not happy exactly, just peaceful. After a while, we started talking. Nothing dramatic, nothing extraordinary, just 2 strangers sharing a quiet room. Somehow, The conversation turned toward health. He mentioned that he had been dealing with a serious medical condition for years. I found myself opening up more than I normally would. I told him about my diagnosis, my fears, my family, the uncertainty. He listened carefully. Then he nodded as though he understood every word, because he did. At one point, I asked him how he managed to stay so calm. His answer surprised me. He smiled and said, "I finally realized I was carrying tomorrow's burdens today." I sat quietly for a moment, because that was exactly what I had been doing. Every day, every hour, every minute. I wasn't just dealing with today's challenges. I was mentally living through every possible future scenario, every worst-case outcome, every fear, every uncertainty. The man continued, "I spent years trying to solve problems that hadn't happened yet." Then he added, "Peace came when I learned to trust God with tomorrow and focus on today." Those words stayed with me. Long after I left the chapel, long after the appointment ended, long after the conversation was over, something about them felt true. Not easy, not simple, but true. For months, I had been trying to control a future that no one could predict. And in the process, I was missing the life happening right in front of me. That realization didn't instantly remove my fears. It didn't.
If this story touched your heart today, comment below. God is with me one day at a time. And if you're facing uncertainty right now, remember this. You don't have to carry tomorrow today. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to know how the entire story ends. Sometimes God's grace arrives one day at a time, one moment at a time, one breath at a time. Take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who may need encouragement tonight. Thank you for spending this time with God Showed Up Stories. And always remember, God always shows up right on time.